The crisp autumn air had a way of drawing out the unspoken, a quiet reminder that change was inevitable. On a serene Sunday afternoon, the Matthews family gathered in the fading light of an old, weathered park, a place that had been part of their lives for generations. Their smiles were warm, radiating the gentle glow of familial love. In the midst of laughter and shared memories, they decided to take one last photo, a final, innocent memento of a moment that would soon reveal a darker truth. A beloved tradition in the Matthews household was to capture every gathering. The family always believed in preserving the essence of every shared experience, unknowingly etching memories that transcended time. This particular day was no exception. In the golden hue of dusk, under the shadow of ancient trees, they arranged themselves for what was meant to be a cheerful snapshot of togetherness. The youngest daughter, Lily, with her unruly curls and sparkling eyes, took center stage, surrounded by the gentle embrace of her parents and siblings. Every detail, from the crisp, clean lines of their clothing to the rustic backdrop of the park, spoke of a life lived in warmth and unity. As the camera clicked, time seemed to stand still. Unbeknownst to the Matthews, however, something lurked beyond the frame. A subtle but unnerving presence that would unravel the fabric of their reality. A dark figure, barely perceptible in the background, lingered where shadows converged with the light. It was as if the figure was a spectral echo of a past misdeed, watching silently over the family's happiness. The figure did not move, yet its presence was charged with a sinister energy, an omen of things to come. In the weeks that followed, the photo, a cherished keepsake, circulated among family and friends. Initially, it was met with admiration for its candid beauty and nostalgic charm. The Matthews, who had long believed in the power of memories, were touched by the image that captured the purity of a single moment. Yet, as the days passed, a growing undercurrent of disquiet began to surface among those who examined the photograph closely. A few family members, pausing a little too long at the background, noticed an odd blur, a dark silhouette that didn't quite belong. The realization was slow, almost imperceptible, like a whisper in a crowded room. Mrs. Matthews, always sensitive to the subtleties of life, was the first to voice her concern. "There's something off about this picture," she murmured during a family gathering. Her words, though hushed, carried an uncharacteristic weight. She recalled that the park had once been the site of a tragic event, an unsolved mystery that had haunted the town for decades. The legend of a vagrant whose presence was rumored to foretell misfortune, of a man shrouded in darkness who seemed to appear before calamity struck, had long been dismissed as mere folklore. Yet, the eerie resemblance between that tale and the fleeting, shadowy figure in their photo could not be ignored. The family's initial disbelief gave way to a slow-burning anxiety. Mr. Matthews, a man of reason and pragmatism, decided to take a closer look at the image. With a digital magnifier and a quiet determination, he scrolled through each pixel, trying to find a rational explanation. Every time his eyes met that faint smear of darkness, a chill crept down his spine. The figure, though blurred by time and distance, seemed to possess a deliberate presence, a silent witness to an event yet unspoken. As night descended over the Matthews home, a heavy silence settled in. The once comforting echoes of laughter now seemed haunted by an uninvited guest. The family began to recall other incidents that, until then, had seemed unconnected. A misplaced heirloom, a door left ajar, fleeting sounds in the dark of night. Could these anomalies be mere coincidences, or were they the threads of a larger, more sinister tapestry? The unease grew with every whispered conversation, and soon the question that haunted their minds became inescapable. Had this mysterious figure been present during other moments of joy, unnoticed until now? Outside, The wind picked up, rustling the leaves and carrying with it the whispers of forgotten secrets. In the quiet solitude of his study, Mr. Matthews resolved to uncover the truth behind the chilling presence captured in the photograph. He knew that some mysteries, no matter how deeply buried, demanded to be unraveled, even if the revelations threatened to shatter the sanctity of cherished memories. For now, the family was left to grapple with the unsettling notion that their last photo, once a symbol of unity and love, might also be a silent testament to an unspeakable presence. It was a paradox that stoked the embers of both wonder and dread. As they prepared to confront the darkness that had intruded upon their sacred moment, a profound lesson began to take shape. That sometimes, the most treasured memories come with hidden truths that must be faced, however chilling they may be. In the days that followed the unsettling discovery of the shadow in their family photo, the Matthews household was transformed by an ever-growing sense of urgency and unease. Mr. Matthews devoted himself to piecing together the puzzle behind the mysterious figure, combing through old records, local lore, and even visiting the local archives in the hope of finding a connection between the haunting presence and the town's troubled past. Each revelation deepened his conviction that this was no random occurrence but rather a link to a series of forgotten tragedies, now resurfacing to demand recognition. Late one rainy evening, as the wind howled outside and the steady drip of rain provided a grim soundtrack, Mr. Matthews discovered an old newspaper clipping tucked between the pages of a battered journal in the local library. The faded article told the story of a man who had roamed the town in the early 1970s. A man who, despite being shunned by society, was rumored to have witnessed unspeakable acts in a series of unresolved crimes. His name had been quickly erased from public memory, much like the fleeting image that now haunted the family's cherished photograph. As Mr. Matthews read, the details unfolded like a grim fable. An abandoned soul with a tormented past, forever wandering the fringes of a community that had cast him aside. Compelled by a mix of dread and determination, Mr. Matthews shared his findings with his family during a tense evening dinner. The conversation was hushed, laden with equal parts disbelief and anxiety. Mrs. Matthews listened intently, her eyes reflecting the storm of emotions raging within. Their children, once carefree in their laughter, now exchanged uncertain glances, sensing that the innocence of their lives was slowly being stripped away. Together, they debated the meaning behind this ghostly presence. Could it be that the dark figure was a spectral echo of a man whose life had ended in misery and who now sought some form of redemption or retribution? That night, as the Matthews family lay in their respective rooms, each was tormented by dreams filled with shadowy figures and cryptic whispers. In his restless sleep, Mr. Matthews found himself reliving the moment he first noticed the figure in the photograph. A silent witness, haunting and unyielding. In the depths of his dream, he wandered through a desolate street illuminated only by the pale light of a distant street lamp, every step echoing the unresolved sorrow of decades past. When he awoke, the first light of dawn revealed his face etched with the unmistakable marks of a man grappling with a mystery that blurred the lines between reality and nightmare. The investigation soon took a dramatic turn when the town's local historian, a reserved yet passionate woman named Eleanor, reached out to the Matthews. Eleanor, known for her dedication to preserving the town's history, had been researching the forgotten tales of its residents. In a series of detailed letters, she described a man known simply as Jonas, whose troubled existence had been interwoven with the town's darkest secrets. Jonas was depicted not merely as a vagrant but as a man with a profound connection to events that had shaken the community, a connection that seemed to resurface in the form of that spectral figure captured in the Matthews photograph. Eleanor's letters revealed that Jonas had been present during a number of inexplicable occurrences. Unsolved disappearances, mysterious fires, and whispered allegations of a conspiracy that had left scars on the collective memory of the town. The more Mr. Matthews read, the more he began to see a parallel between the fragmented tales of Jonas and the inexplicable presence in their own photo. Was it possible that the ghostly figure was, in fact, Jonas, a tormented soul who continued to wander, driven by a need to be seen and heard? As the day wore on, the family decided to retrace the steps of Jonas, following Eleanor's cryptic directions to the forgotten corners of the park where the photograph was taken. They ventured out into the early morning mist, their steps measured and hearts heavy with trepidation. In the solitude of the park, amid rustling leaves and the silent testimony of old stone benches, they sensed that they were treading on sacred ground, a place where past and present converged. The atmosphere was charged with an inexplicable energy, as if the park itself harbored secrets that defied explanation. Each member of the Matthews family felt the pull of destiny, a profound connection to the spectral witness of their captured memory. Their journey through the park was a quiet pilgrimage, an attempt to come face to face with the lingering echoes of sorrow and to perhaps lay an old, unsettled spirit to rest. For them, this was more than an investigation. It was a reckoning with the shadows of history and an invitation to embrace the full spectrum of truth, however unsettling it might be. As twilight began to descend once again, the family returned home, their hearts heavy yet determined to continue their quest for answers. The mystery of Jonas, of the shadow in the photograph, was far from solved. Instead, it had deepened into a labyrinth of unanswered questions, a challenge that beckoned them to explore the darker recesses of memory and fate. The echoes of that fateful night, intertwined with the whispers of the past, promised that their journey was only just beginning. The Matthews family's journey into the heart of the mystery reached its zenith on a cold, moonlit night. After retracing Jonas's footsteps in the park, they returned home with a sense of solemn duty to honor the forgotten and to confront the secrets that had long been buried. The weight of the past mingled with the crisp night air as they gathered in their living room, determined to piece together the final fragments of a story that had haunted their lives. Their investigation had evolved from simple curiosity into a quest for closure, a mission to understand the enigma that was Jonas and the dark figure in the photograph. In the dim glow of a single table lamp, Mr. Matthews laid out Eleanor's letters alongside copies of old newspaper clippings and the original family photograph. Every document, every faded headline, and every scribbled note told a tale of sorrow and redemption. The story of Jonas, once dismissed as a relic of a bygone era, now emerged as a mirror reflecting the overlooked anguish of society's forgotten souls. His tragic life, marred by neglect and hardship, resonated deeply with the family, who saw in him the consequences of unspoken neglect and unresolved loss. As the clock ticked past midnight, the family engaged in a profound discussion about the nature of fate and the lingering presence of past injustices. Mrs. Matthews spoke softly about the lessons that history imparts, a reminder that sometimes the shadows we try to leave behind are never fully extinguished. Their conversation was interwoven with memories of laughter, grief, and the imperceptible signs that had preceded this unsettling revelation. In that moment, the family recognized that the dark figure was not simply an omen of misfortune, but a call to acknowledge the hidden stories that shape our lives. Emboldened by their shared resolve, they decided to visit the park one last time, not as anxious seekers of a ghostly presence, but as respectful witnesses to the history that had defined their town. With flashlights in hand and hearts aligned in purpose, they ventured back under a star-studded sky. In the park's silent expanse, the family found a quiet spot beneath an ancient oak, the same tree that had borne witness to countless seasons of change. It was here that they held a small, impromptu memorial for Jonas, a symbolic gesture to honor the lost and to offer solace to a spirit that had been consigned to the shadows for too long. In a brief but touching ceremony, Mr. Matthews recited words of forgiveness and remembrance, The family placed a few personal mementos, a cherished trinket, a faded photograph of happier times, and a handwritten note into the hollow of the oak. Each offering was imbued with a silent promise to never forget the lessons of the past and to strive for a future where every soul, no matter how broken, could find peace. The act, simple yet profound, seemed to lighten the oppressive atmosphere. For a moment, as if in response, the night air grew a touch warmer, and a gentle breeze rustled the oak's leaves. A soft murmur of gratitude from the unseen. Returning home, the Matthews felt a bittersweet sense of closure. The dark figure in their photo, once a symbol of inexplicable dread, had transformed into a reminder of the importance of acknowledging history's scars. Their journey had been both an external investigation and an internal reckoning with the inevitable truths that life demands. It was clear that some mysteries, though shrouded in darkness, could illuminate the path toward healing and understanding. In the days that followed, the family shared their experience with friends, neighbors, and even local media, urging the community to confront its forgotten past. Their story sparked conversations about mental health, social justice, and the need to support those who linger on the margins of society. The town, once reluctant to revisit its painful history, began to show signs of collective healing. New initiatives were launched to commemorate those who had suffered in silence, and a small memorial was erected in the park, a permanent tribute to Jonas and others like him. For the Matthews, the resolution was not a neat conclusion but rather an ongoing dialogue with the past. They learned that confronting darkness was never about erasing sorrow. It was about transforming it into a source of strength and empathy. In their hearts, they carried the message that every shadow, no matter how menacing, holds a lesson for those brave enough to seek the light. Dear viewers, as you absorb the unfolding of this true crime tale with its unexpected twists and deep-seated moral reflections, consider the unspoken stories in your own lives. What forgotten truths lie beneath the surface of everyday moments? How might acknowledging the past illuminate a path toward a more compassionate future? I invite you to share your thoughts, your theories, and your personal reflections in the comments below. And if this story moved you, please subscribe, like, and share. Your engagement helps keep the conversation alive and empowers us all to explore the mysteries that shape our collective experience.